Hi, this is Mr. Moser, and welcome to my podcast on Chapter 4, Section 4, the Space Age. So, the first exciting steps into space was taken on October 4th in 1957 when the Russians launched Sputnik up into space. Since then, we have been up on the moon. People have lived up on the space station for extended periods of time and come back to Earth. We've been able to find lots and lots of uses for technology that has come out of all of the space programs that we've had over the years. Since the beginning of the space age with Sputnik 1 in 1957, thousands of satellites have been placed in orbit around the Earth, and many of them have fallen from orbit and burned up in the Earth's atmosphere, but many are still in orbit and are still useful. These satellites have provided many services to people on the Earth. Some of the different types of satellites that we have up there, one of them is communication satellites. Communication satellites, they beam television programs, radio messages, telephone conversations, and other kinds of information all over the world. A weather satellite. Weather satellites, they track weather patterns and forecast weather conditions all over the world. Navigation satellites, they send precise continuous signals to ships and airplanes. Those signals can be used to triangulate their exact positions on Earth. And then there are also scientific satellites. Landsat satellites are a special type of scientific satellite that has provided a great deal of information about the surface of the Earth. And they're used to monitor the growth of crops, forests, and even deserts. And they're also helpful in keeping track of our freshwater supplies. The CSAT satellites has a similar function for the ocean. One of the things that we need to talk about with satellites is a concept called geosynchronous orbit. And a geosynchronous orbit is one where the satellite is traveling around the Earth at the exact same rate that the Earth is spinning. So it's not going faster, it's going at the exact same rate. An important component of the space shuttle is the laboratory, often referred to as Space Lab. And Space Lab makes it possible for non-NASA scientists, engineers, and doctors to conduct experiments in orbit. Space Lab, it rides into orbit and back in the space shuttle's cargo bay. After reaching orbit, the doors to the cargo bay remain open so that the Space Lab is exposed to space. Space Lab was built by the European Space Agency. So I know that a lot of you probably watch TV and you've heard of spin-offs. Spin-off shows where they copy one show one show is very successful, and so there'll be lots of other spin-off shows that copy that same model. Well, we do the same thing with space technology. What do dental arch wire, voice-controlled wheelchairs, spray-on adhesives, heat reflective window film, what do they all have in common? Well, they're all a result of spin-offs of NASA research programs. So spin-offs are technologies transferred to uses other than their original applications. Spin-offs from the space program, they have affected our daily lives. Here's a few examples of how space research is improving life on Earth. A voice-controlled wheelchair can help severely handicapped people move about. Oral commands in a computer activate one of the several motors that cause the wheelchair to move or to stop. Down here, this is some heat-resistant or heat-reflective material. And so this is used on the outside of the spaceship to keep heat away from the spaceship. But we've used it here in a blanket type situation where now it's reflecting the person's heat back to them. Okay, so this is another one. This is an insulin pump, a little micro insulin pump, and the small technology. Since space is at such a premium on the space shuttle, they continue to shrink the size of things, and this insulin pump is a mini pump delivering insulin to a diabetic person as they need it. This is a diving suit that's patterned after the space suits. Divers can use this little suit here to go deep into the ocean, where they would be crushed by the pressures otherwise. But since they have that suit, then they're safe. So there's other things like smoke detectors. Everybody has smoke detectors. Smoke detectors have been used in Skylab for lots of years, and they've saved lots of lives by being able to detect smoke in people's homes. Okay, so let's go ahead and review. What are the 4 kinds of artificial satellites and their basic functions? The 4 basic types here are communication, these guys, they beam television, telephone, and other communications around the world. We have weather. They help us to be able to detect the weather patterns and see all those different things that are going on there. Navigation. Navigation help let boats and airplanes and drivers know exactly where they are. And then the last one is scientific. Scientific, then, they are able to track things like growth of plants and all kinds of other things. The scientific ones, they help to map remote areas, seek various resources, etc. Okay, so how can space technology be beneficial to people? There are practical applications for many of the discoveries. The applications are called spin-offs. And that's because they have been derived from the space technology but are now applied to other areas. Well, I hope that was helpful to you.